Mr. Cobbs, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Did you switch on? Can you
Mr.
switch
Cobbs?
on your microphone, please?
Can you hear me?
Ah, it's already.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? Fine.
So, okay. Okay, it's okay. Thank you so much.
Did
Did you switch on? Can you
Mr.
switch
Cobbs?
on your microphone, please?
Can you hear me?
Ah, it's already.
We have a registration problem, I think.
Okay.
I
Okay,
hear
it's
you
okay.
5 times.
Did you switch on? Can you
Mr.
switch
Cobbs?
on your microphone, please?
Can you hear me?
Ah, it's already.
It is, yes, now I can, I could, but I have an echo. So I heard you 5 times asking the same question. Can you hear me?
We have to try to listen to you. Please say something. Just say
Hello.
something.
Yes, hello. I just heard you, I don't know, 5 times before the same question. So it's kind of
We have to try to listen to you. No. Please.
Do you hear me now? Can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me now? Hear me now? I can't hear you.
Okay, thank you. Let's try.
Can you go closer to the microphone? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back from the break. My singular honor and pleasure to welcome you all to the second session of the afternoon. So our session will be on the UN Food Systems Post-Summit Process, SFS Med Dialogues follow-up meeting, national pathways and multi-stakeholder engagement towards more sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean. So this session is organized by the SFS Med platform, and we pathways and multi-stakeholder engagement towards more sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean. So this session is organized by the SFS Med platform, and we pathways and multi-stakeholder engagement towards more sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean. So this session is organized by the SFS Med platform, and so you get two Sylvia for the price of one. So the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Sylvia Lopez-Beckman. I am the Deputy Director of the UN Systems Coordination Hub that has been established right after the summit to make sure that the UN system, but also the full ecosystem of support, can be mobilized to support the follow-up to this very important summit that we have last. And actually, I think we are meeting at a very important time. It is exactly 1 year after the summit, but it is also 1 year before the stock-taking moment that is going to be organized next year to see how far the world has managed to go since we've taken these important commitments a year ago. And I think the Mediterranean region has been very active in preparing this summit, very active also now in implementing the commitments taken. There were 65 dialogues organized by member states, but also independent dialogues, and we have many of you around the group who have organized some of those dialogues. 5,000 people participated. And I think it is really interesting that we have through this TM conference the opportunity to meet with Mediterranean conveners. I think it is the first time that they're getting all together in the same room. And it is also the first time that we can convene and really reflect on what the plans are for the Mediterranean region. I think the conveners have been at the front lines of this work. They had a very important but also very difficult mandate to prepare their countries for the summit. Really not easy because food systems is really about breaking the silos. The mandate of bringing all the actors from government, from private sector, from civil society, academia around the table. So I think it is also an opportunity for us to recognize the important role that they play in the Health Summit and the important role that is on their shoulders now to implement, especially in the very difficult context that we are in. So we have 7 of them on this table, on this panel, and 2 of them are joining us remotely. So I was mentioning the context. I don't need to go into the details. We've heard about it this morning. We even heard in details about it this afternoon. In the first session, the context is very difficult. And the Secretary General of the United Nations 8 days ago, when opening the 77th session of the General Assembly, said very clearly that this year, the world has food. The problem is distribution. If we do not fix the situation, especially with fertilizers, next year, supply may be an issue. So I think we really have to roll up our sleeves and look at this issue with a common sense of urgency. And this is an opportunity now that the issue is very high on every country's political agenda to seize this moment to really accelerate the pace of transformation. So our session has very simple objectives. First of all, it is to continue the important conversation that we have started with the summit, but also to reflect on critical lessons learned that we already have been able to observe from the first months of implementation 1 year after the summit. We're going to reflect on the impact of the crisis, but we're also going to look at the Mediterranean region. It's very diverse. I think we all know that there are lots of differences in our various national contexts. But at the same time, there are lots of common challenges and lots of common opportunities to find joint solutions. And we want to really go deep into discussing collaborations, opportunities to collaborate. We know what's going to happen on Monday when we go back to our desk. We're going to get into the day-to-day. So I hope that today we can really cement some clear, concrete action points for collaboration in the region once we leave the conference. So the structure of the panel will be very simple. We'll have a short opening with Mr. Alvin Kops, who is joining us remotely, that you can see on the screen. Then we will have a keynote speech from Mr. Stefano Gatti, and we will enter into a panel discussion with our 9 conveners. And I think Mr. Maurizio Martina from FAO is going to offer closing remarks, and then we'll have a wrap-up from the SFS-led convener. So this is the plan. And without any further ado, since we started late, I'm going to ask Mr. Alvin Kops, who is the lead representative for the One Planet Network Sustainable Food Systems Program at the Federal Office for Agriculture of Switzerland, to offer opening remarks to kick off our session. Mr. Kops, over to you.
Thank you very much, a moderator, for this kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, just a wave if you don't hear me. We just had a bit of a connection issue before. So ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, it is a great honor for me to join you today, unfortunately only by virtual means, for this important session on the Food Systems Summit's follow-up process. Although I am a big fan of the Mediterranean diet, I am not here primarily in my role as a national convener, nor because I represent a particular Mediterranean country, as my country is a little bit too far north. Rather, I have been invited because I am one of the co-leads of the UN One Planet Network's Sustainable Food Systems Program, which is a global multi-stakeholder partnership that has been advocating for inclusive food systems governance and holistic approach to food systems transformation since the adoption of the SDGs. This session follows up and builds on the findings of a series of independent dialogues that were organized in 2021 by the core partners of the SFS-MED platform. CMFAO, the Union of the Mediterranean, together with Prima Foundation and the One Planet Network Sustainable Food Systems Program. Also, in this context, these core partners undertook a stock-taking exercise on the processes and pathways for food systems transformation in the Mediterranean. There seems to be an issue. Yes.
And I think he doesn't know what's going on in the room. He must be very concerned. Mr. Cox, can you hear us?
I can hardly hear you. Can you hear me?
Obviously not. Do we have any logistical support to send a message to him? Yes, I'm not sure who has that computer. So maybe to save time, if we are not sure we can fix this problem in the immediate term, I could invite our keynote speech to start in the meantime. So let us do that. Let us have the keynote speech first. And I would like to invite Mr. Stefano Gatti, Minister Plenipotentiary, who is the Italian Special Envoy for Food Security at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Italy, to offer some keynote remarks to us. Thank you very much.
Okay, this does work. I approach with great fear every microphone here, just to know if there's my voice following me around during the speech. So thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here to intervene. First of all, let me say that we really do appreciate the initiative, both of CIAM and of the Food System Summit Hub, to have this session. We have now, first time, as Silvia said, several national coordination convening here together and meeting themselves. I was looking at the list, and as you see, there's a very interesting mix between Foreign Office high officials and high-level officials from the Ministry of Agriculture, and this is very interesting. And really what I wanted to say in this introductory speech is speaking about food diplomacy. What we speak very much, and we have been working in these last 2 or 3 years in Italy, is really about food diplomacy, how this is emerging very strongly for a number of countries. For Italy, is becoming a growing priority of our foreign policy. Obviously, at our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we work in close coordination with the other ministries, the Ministry of Agriculture being one of them, but also several others. I think that we all agree that the issue of food security, food production all around the world today is one of the key issues that encompasses, if not all, many of the 7 SDGs of the Agenda 2030. And I believe, and I see that we have also here representatives from Egypt, the next COP27 will be a very important moment. And I hear a lot of people saying that this should be the agricultural COP. Now, I don't know if it is an agricultural COP, but surely it has to be, and there will be a COP where we will discuss how food production, food security impacts the agricultural COP. I got it. You see, this is my ghost following me up. Okay. I hope that he's gone. But this is one of the issues that we're discussing also within Italy and at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with the other ministries. Will this be a moment, and we hope it will, in which we look at, food security, food production, the sustainable production of food as one of the key elements of, facing the issues of climate change. we really now agree that if you look at the production of food, you can see it in many different angles. It's, a health issue. We have seen it during the pandemic. It was referred in many of the interventions here today before. It's climate change and climate sustainability issues. How do you confront, how do you work with the land, and how do you manage to produce food from the land, respecting it? And also, it's a major economic development and social issues all around the world. We have also seen in these last years that the different shocks, some of the interventions earlier this afternoon and this morning also at the inauguration referred about shocks. We have a pandemic shock, we have conflicts shocks, we have climate change shocks. So all these are sort of getting all together, and they have in food and in food issues, are sort of they get all together in this dimension, and we have to see how to face this dimension. Regarding the emergence of food diplomacy, let me say that as Italy, obviously, we have been working in the last 2 years with our current government. Everybody knows that we're waiting for a new one in the next few weeks, but I am absolutely sure, and everybody is sure, that on the issue of food security, the centrality of this issue in the international agenda, there will be absolutely total continuity. And we, as Italy, intend to play a growing and more, even more active role. This is because we believe we are one of the key food cultures around the world, and we have a very sophisticated integrated food system in our country, where many of the interlocutors want to play a role also internationally, not only within our country and our system. Let me so give you a brief history of how our food diplomacy is evolving, and this is very much connected to the panel that we are having today. Actually, most of them came out from the Food System Summit process. So I can quite say in a relaxed way that even my position as a special envoy in food security, that was created only December last year, was the consequence of two important initiatives that we took forward as Italy last year. The first one was the G20 presidency. As you know, in the G20 presidency, as Italy, we pushed forward the idea of approving a major declaration on food security. So the Matera Declaration on Food Security has been last year one of the major documents, consensus document approved by all G20 countries. And I think I don't have to break to you the news that at the G20 level it's not very easy to find consensus on issues. So this was a major achievement of our presidency last year. That has set a number of key principles that we are engaged as Italy with many other partners, FAO and the UN food agencies based in Rome being obviously the key partners for us. Secondly, as you know, we hosted in Rome the Food System Food Summit in July last year. I had the pleasure, honor, responsibility of chairing the organizing committee upon the request of Agnes Kalibata, that was the special representative of the Secretary General, as you know, and we did this very good work in coordination between the UN entity systems, FAO, where we hosted, and the Italian government, in order to have this event taking place in July last year. Actually, just for you to know, it was the first in-person event, United Nations in-person event after the pandemic. So most of our work was on the COVID protocol. And how it worked very well. I mean, but it was the first one that was elaborated. So we were a little bit, in a new field of how these things are done. Then, following all this, at December last year, the government decided to nominate a special envoy. As a special envoy, I'm the national convener. But one thing that we did that I would like here to highlight is that even where you nominate a special envoy, we see a growing number of countries that are doing that or intend to do that. Obviously, it's not a special envoy alone can in any way impact the activity of the country in this field. What we did during the Food System Summit process was to set up a national dialogue, as it was requested, by the way, by the Secretary General and the special envoy during that period. And this national dialogue has encompassed around more than 40 different entities, being the ministries involved, being all the private sector and its representative association, being all the agricultural and farmers association. We have several of them in Italy, and each of them represents several millions of farmers and food producers. In Italy, we do not speak anymore of farmers, but we speak about it's, I don't know how to try the translation, but essentially they are, you can call them, the land managers. So these people are entrepreneurs, and they develop, entrepreneurship starting from the land and going on in the food system chain. So all these entities, including civil society, including some of our major experts in Italy on this field, and I recognize some of them here in the room, have got together, have been invited by the ministry to be part of this national dialogue. The first thing that the national dialogue did was to prepare our position during the Food System Summit. What did we do in December? I was nominated after the Food System Summit took place. We decided as a first thing to make this national dialogue permanent. So now I chair every 2 or 3 months a permanent meeting of all these entities. And essentially, we are involving all these different entities, not only in discussing with us, with the government, the positions that we take in all the multilateral international forums, the initiatives, but also to be actively part of us. I wanted to thank the Hub for having published recently a very precious document that tells us how many coalition of actions have been in effect created around the world after the Food System Summit. And now we have the answer from the Hub. There are 27 of them, and we need to work together as countries. What are we doing with these 27 coalition of actions? We believe as Italy that this is a very interesting, positive, but also challenging experiment, because these should be sort of self-governing structures. How do they work? How do we as countries participate, and how can we help them to achieve their goals? So we as Italy most probably will examining well also the document and information we received from the Hub, support and be actively engaging around 10 of them. And what we are doing through this national dialogue is to create Teams Italy. So we are good not only soccer, we are good, depends. Sometimes we're good, sometimes not, but that is another issue. And so we want to create a team approach on food security issues. This meaning that through the national permanent dialogue that we have, we recruit different entities, experts, organizations that want to be active part of this coalition. And so the role of the special envoy is just to coordinate the Italian position. But obviously, if I have an international coalition on local food policy, the best thing for me is to have the town of Milan going and speak in this coalition, because they lead the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact with 600 cities around the world. Not obviously anybody of us or the Minister of Foreign Affairs, because they're discussing of what they do in their life. If we work on specific, technical issues, technical up to a point, but one very important coalition is on food loss and food waste. Now we all recognize that this is not only an issue, very important issue internationally, but it's a key issue in the Mediterranean region. We have a very fragile food security situation in the Mediterranean, but we have also an incredible food culture through the Mediterranean diet. But I think that most of you know that we are sort of at the top of the league in terms of food waste and loss in the Mediterranean region, both in the south and in the north of the Mediterranean. So there's much that we can do. And the Director General of FAO recently told us that if we can manage in the Mediterranean region to halve the amount of food loss and food waste, we would have solved the food emergency in the region itself. So that is already a very important issue that we need to work. So we are trying to organize our national system through this permanent national dialogue in order to coordinate the presence of all these entities in the 10, 12 alliances, coalitions that we will actively participate. But let me conclude these remarks saying something, especially to my colleagues that are the national conveners for their countries. Obviously, we recognize that there's very much to be done in the Mediterranean area. As you know, following the recent food crisis created by the Ukrainian war, we have launched a ministerial dialogue at the international level. The first edition took place in June, digitally, chaired by our foreign minister. Several of the countries here represented were present at ministerial level, and I thank them very much. 27 Mediterranean countries participated, and we identified a number of areas of collaboration. And within this this conference. I thank very much the CIAM friends and colleagues for having helped us to organize tomorrow morning a session, and invite you to be present where we will discuss with the 8 international partner organizations the projects that we want to present of collaboration on the Mediterranean region that will be presented next December, the 2nd of December. Also, for your information, we will have the second meeting of the ministerial dialogue in Rome during the ministerial the dialogues that we have annually in the first week of December in Rome. But what I wanted to say at the end of this is it would be very nice that in developing the Mediterranean cooperation, we also hopefully starting from today, have a dialogue between us as Mediterranean countries. How do we want to approach these international coalitions, these alliances that have come up for the Food System Summit? I wanted just to give you a practical example. One of these coalitions is called Healthy Diet Coalition. It's a very interesting one. I wouldn't make long comments on, but the interesting thing is not one Mediterranean country is part of this coalition. So obviously, if I look at this and I think, okay, we have a Mediterranean diet that has been recognized by UNESCO as a worldwide heritage of humankind. Obviously, we're not saying to the non-Mediterranean countries that only us have the solution. Obviously, others have fantastic cultures, but at this, a key reference. We have a conference here today, in these days of Mediterranean diet. And how is it that you have an international coalition coming out from the Food System Summit that is called Health Diet and is not a Mediterranean country? So we as Italy are obviously contemplating joining it, but we think that it will give much more added value if we join it together with a number of our Mediterranean partners and discuss, what do we want to take as common positions? We have a common food culture, we have common issues, common projects. It's better to get inside together because, with all due respect with countries like, Denmark, Sweden, or the north of Europe, which I have all my love, clearly, we have probably something to say that is quite important on the international arena on all these issues. And this is just one example of the other many coalitions that we have. So let me just conclude thanking once again both the CIAM and Bari for the organization of this wonderful conference. I have only one criticism to CIAM: if they give us so good food at lunch, then the sessions in the afternoon will always start late because everybody is intent in eating this wonderful food that you always eat here in Bari. And please let us collaborate together. This is my ask to the Mediterranean countries, and really our encouragement to the hub in Rome, that we are extremely happy has been placed in FAO, to whom we have pledged collaboration and support, physical, financial, in order to take forward their activity, because we have a very important job in front of us, and Italy is committed to this job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gatti, for Italy's leadership. And I also want to recognize the fact that Italy was the very first country to provide seed funding to the new hub. And we hope that the partnership within the region is also going to be catalyzed by this partnership between Italy and the hub. So we're going to give it another try with Mr. Kops. Let's hope that technology is on our side this time. Mr. Kops, can you hear us? If you do, please go ahead.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? Excellent. So thank you very much. And let's give it another try. So I was invited to give you a little bit of an overview of the relationship between the SFS Med, a platform, and the program I am co-leading. I'm co-leading the UN One Planet Networks for Food, a UN One Planet Network Sustainable Food Systems program. This is a global multi-stakeholder partnership that has been advocating for inclusive food systems governance and a holistic approach to food systems transformation since the adoption of the SDGs. So your session follows up and builds on the findings of a series of independent dialogues that were organized in 2021 by the core partners of the SFS Med platform, which is a CIAM, FAO, and the Union of the Mediterranean, together with Prima Foundation and the program I represent, the One Planet Network's Sustainable Food Systems Program. Also in this context, these core partners undertook a stock-taking exercise on the processes and pathways for food systems transformation in the Mediterranean. The SFS Med dialogues allowed to highlight common challenges and priorities with regards to food systems transformation across the Mediterranean region. They also emphasized the role of multi-stakeholder collaboration as a key enabler for food systems transformation. Some of the key priorities and areas of the work that emerged throughout this process as important lever for food systems transformation in the Mediterranean region include green, blue, and circular economy, sustainable management of land and water in the context of climate change, the Mediterranean diet as a lever for food, for sustainable consumption and production. And indeed, Stefano, I think it would be really excellent to welcome Mediterranean countries in the diet and the coalition you just mentioned, which is the Healthy Diet Coalition. Then another issue was cities and rural urban food systems, a strive for change. And finally, equitable and inclusive development of rural livelihoods. The stock-taking exercise that I mentioned before has shown that the Mediterranean countries are at the different stages of their journey towards food systems transformation. While some have just recently started to develop roadmaps, others have already well-defined countries are at the different stages of their journey towards food systems transformation. While some have just recently started to develop roadmaps, others have already well-defined countries are at the different stages.
Mr. Cobbs, can you try again?
Yes. Do you hear me? Because I heard myself, I don't know, 5 times.
An echo, but now we can hear you fine. Please go ahead.
You can. So I just quickly go back to the stock-taking exercise that showed that some countries just have recently started to develop roadmaps, while others already have very well-defined pathways, national strategies, and a transformative actions in place. But I think in any case, an important conclusion is that all the Mediterranean countries understand the sense of urgency that is needed to address and tackle the multiple challenges related to food and agriculture in the region. So as I mentioned earlier, the multi-stakeholder collaboration is indeed at the core of the objective and mandate of the One Planet Network's SFS program, the Sustainable Food Systems program that I represent today. As part of the UN framework on sustainable consumption and production, the SFS program has been supporting global efforts to transition towards more sustainable food systems since 2015. The program has developed a series of collaborative initiatives and tools on promoting a food systems approach and multi-stakeholder collaboration for more coherent and holistic policy making. The SFS program was actively involved in the preparatory process towards the UN Food Systems Summit and has more recently aligned its work stream in a view to support a summit's follow-up process. This includes making its tools readily available in support of the national pathways for food systems transformation. And it also includes a space for exchange and strengthening synergies among different food system summit action coalitions, national conveners, and the wide range of further initiatives that share the common goal of promoting sustainable food systems. Next year, the SFS program will organize its 4th global conference in collaboration with a food systems coordination hub. The conference will seek to involve national conveners, different action coalitions, as well as other actors that form this, what we call the ecosystem of support of the Food Systems Summit follow-up process. I think together we will make a substantial contribution in preparation of the summit's first stock-taking moment in about 1 year. So the SFS Med platform that is organizing the session today is an affiliated initiative of the SFS program, and it mirrors its objectives and efforts for the Mediterranean region. The SFS Med platform can and plays already a key role in supporting food systems transformation in the Mediterranean. It offers a forum for multi-stakeholder dialogue and collaboration. It is a network for strengthening knowledge sharing and capacity building, and it can be a catalyst for regional cooperation on priority themes for sustainable food systems transformation. The platform is open to all food system stakeholders in the region, and it aims to create a community to leverage and share the knowledge, experience, and skills for food systems actors across the region towards concerted action for a sustainable transformation of these systems. With the SFS Med dialogues among the Mediterranean conveners and stakeholders that were carried out last year, a webinar series on key transformative action for the region, as well as other ongoing activities, the SFS Med platform is already moving in this direction. So your inputs today in today's deliberation will contribute to the support that the SFS Med platform can provide to countries and food systems actors in the region in terms of strengthening regional collaboration, coordinating action and learning. In this spirit, thank you very much for your attention, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kops, and thank you again for highlighting the potential for collaboration of the platform and really encouraging everybody again to think about ways to make use of this resource. And I think the coordinator is listening very carefully. And I think next steps also for the program is going to be informed by the outcomes of this conversation. And if you're interested in the stock-taking exercise that Mr. Kops mentioned, we have reports of the exercise available in the room. So do not hesitate to see my colleague Laura to grab some copies for you and your colleagues. So with that, we've concluded the first part of our session. We are going now to move into the panel. Our conveners have been very patient. We're going to have what I hope is going to be a conversation, a very interactive discussion with three parts. The first one is really to look into how far they've been able to go in the implementation of the national pathways in the current context of crisis 1 year after the summit. So I will ask each of them to share what they believe is most important in the progress that they've made, but I will also point towards some good practices that I know are very relevant in their country context and can inspire other conveners as well. And I will ask them, my apologies, to be very brief and stick to time, maybe maximum 3 to 4 minutes per question so that we can have several rounds, considering that we have started late. So let me start maybe with Malta. We have heard that healthy diet is very important for the region. We have heard that none of the Mediterranean countries for now participate in the Healthy Diet Coalition, but I think this is just the start and this is going to evolve. But let me turn to Mr. John Busuttil, who is the director at the Directorate General of Global Issues in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and European Affairs in Malta. We know that in your country, you've given a lot of importance to nutrition. You're very concerned about the issue of obesity, and you have organized ahead of the summit a lot of public dialogues with experts to look at this issue and to come up with societal solutions to this problem. So can you please share with us your progress and maybe highlight what you've been able to achieve in this area of healthy diets? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvia. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Sihim for the invitation, and I'm very happy to be in Bari. It's my first time, although I'm from Malta, it's not that far. But I'm particularly happy because when I arrived, I realized that on the emblem of Bari, there are the two colors of our national flag, white and red. You don't have the cross as well, but I feel particularly at home here. So thank you for that. Turning to the question, I'm finding this very interesting. I mean, I'm director for multilateral affairs. I usually deal with UN issues. And now this year, it's particularly challenging because we have just been elected on the UN Security Council. So from 1st January 2023, 2024, we will be at the highest table of the United Nations. But
can you please put the microphone closer to you?
Sorry. Yeah, of course, being on the Security Council, it's in these particular circumstances, and now since we just finished the General Assembly of the United Nations, when the main issue of our leaders, the high-level events, was the crisis in the multilateral international system caused by, of course, by the invasion of Ukraine. So we are in a situation where since February 2022, 27th February of this year, it's a new world, it's a new situation. Of course, food brings us together as families, as communities, as nations. It underpins our culture, our economy, and our relationship with the natural world. And food systems of the world touch every aspect of human existence, making them not just essential, but also valuable, important instruments of change. I'll just mention that the lead up to the what generated the push for the Food System Summit was that we entered the Decade for Action to achieve the SDGs by 2030. Now it's just 8 years away, and many of the world's food systems were fragile and not fulfilling the right to adequate food for all, and hunger was on the rise again. And then COVID-19 happened, as we heard from the previous panel. Up to 811 million people in the world faced hunger in 2020, a 20% increase in just 1 year. Over 41 million were on the doorstep of starvation. The Food System Summit provided an essential boost of energy into the 2030 agenda. The Food System Summit provided the possibility, as our colleague from Italy just highlighted, to start a dialogue with all civil society and all relevant institutions also back home. And when we tried to identify an area which we thought could generate interest, because, people have other priorities in life, we saw that one area which could be very interesting and which has been a challenge for us, we've been trying to address it for the last 20 years and which has remained a challenge, is the issue of obesity. And it's not just Malta. We always rank very high, notwithstanding all our efforts in the classifications of obese children, especially. I suspect that with the pandemic and with the restrictions, the numbers have not improved. So we focused on this in the preparations for the summit. This was one of the central themes. And also when I heard in the earlier panel that now with the situation of Ukraine and with the inflation prices going up, people in Greece, for example, they mentioned 35.5% of the income is spent on food. That is really worrying, because as we prepared for the summit, and one of the main outcomes from the summit was that the people who don't have too much money to spend on food, the expensive food is normally the healthy food, and the cheaper food is the unhealthy one. So if we're really going to tackle like the issue of obesity, which unfortunately is a situation in many countries in the Mediterranean, that's one of the big challenges. Early last year, we did the dialogue. with the civil society and NGOs. And on World Food Day, the Ministry for Food held another expert-led discussion on food sustainability and the participation of stakeholders. We have set up, the Ministry of Agriculture have set up a Malta Food Agency, which also is an important step in July last year, and is also instrumental to facilitate the national conversation and bring together different operators. All this is part of efforts to put food security at the center of the national strategic vision. And we have tried to integrate also some ideas from the pathway for the transformation of food systems and moving forward to try to achieve this. Already at this early stage in the process, I mean, it's been 1 year, as we just heard, several lessons can be shared. And one of the strategic principles that guides our national efforts in this area is the concept that farmers must have access to land and property, finance, markets, and knowledge. And as we dive deeper into some of the challenges that characterize different sectors of agriculture and food, we increasingly come to terms with the reality that the primary requirement is having access to finance, as in most other issues. And this factor limits the rest in the same way that when we deconstruct the broad-term sustainability, to be able to build it better, we must start by putting the economic and financial aspects first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Congratulations on setting up the food agency in Malta and on good progress achieved, but you've raised also a lot of challenges, including finance. So now let's continue with Turkey. We've heard one of the contradictions of food systems is that on the one side, we have some areas where there is not sufficient food, but on the other side, we're wasting a lot. And there is a very interesting good practice from Turkey in looking at combating food loss and waste. So I would like to ask Mrs. Nihan Atay Aspolat, who is from the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry in Turkey, to update us on progress and maybe to highlight this very interesting campaign, which is called Save Your Food, that you've started in Turkey in collaboration with FAO. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. It's a great pleasure for me to join this event. Thank you for the invitation. I want to just talk about the Save Your Food campaign because of time. Save Your Food campaign is, we launched this campaign last year with the cooperation FAO. And our aim is to reduce food losses and waste by raising public awareness both at national and international levels, and to create a role model by sharing good practices in other regions. With reference to survey conducted by an independent consultancy firm, thanks to our campaign, consumers decreased the food waste and households have been saved around $80 million during the year. And there is 22% rise on recycling. Regarding to overcooking and overportioning, we achieved a 40% decrease. We broke 2 Guinness World Records on most plaques received for an environmental sustainability campaign with 790,000 plaques, and we broke Chinese record with the category of most plaques received for a campaign with 881,000 plaques to reduce food loss and waste. We have initiated this regional project in Turkey and Central Asia with FAO with $1.5 million budget. Can I go on with the other food literacy project or for other food literacy project or other in other sessions?
If you want to continue to raise points from Turkey,
Okay,
please go
thank
ahead.
you.
A couple of minutes.
And in addition, to this project according to our targets, which is raising consumer awareness and promoting sustainable consumption in the national pathway. We are operating a food literacy project with FAO and then preparing an action plan. It has started on February 2021 and we will complete on December this year. According to our Safe Food project, we noticed that one of the causes of food loss and waste is that consumers are unaware of food labeling information. And increasing consumer awareness is very important. And this project is to understand the current situation of food literacy and identify gaps and priorities and other target groups, to define the other target groups. And with this project, we will encourage multi-sectorial collaboration by improving food literacy. It will support building a partnership between the public sector, academia, private sector, and international organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think what your experience highlights is the power of involving the general public, but also of having these multi-stakeholder partnerships where the private sector, the government, academia, and international organizations are partnering to really address the root causes of some of those problems of food loss and waste. Thank you very much for that. Let me now turn to Egypt with His Excellency Ambassador Badawi, who is the Assistant Minister for Multilateral Affairs and International Security at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. First of all, congratulations to Egypt for hosting COP27 and good luck for the road ahead that I know is very heavy in terms of organization. But I would also like to congratulate Egypt because in this fiscal year, you have managed to increase the investment in agriculture by 32%. And I think this is an incredible example of ownership and leadership when it comes to domestic resource mobilization. So really kudos to the country. You have a very interesting example in the area of school feeding that I think is showing very promising results. At the same time, is also helping you protect your most vulnerable during this time of crisis. So as you share with us a general update about the progress that you've made in implementing your national pathway would be very interesting because I know many of us are interested in school feeding and there is a coalition on school feeding that has been created after the summit. If you could share some of this experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia, and let me start by joining the others in thanking CM and congratulating them on their 60th anniversary. In Egypt, we retire at 60, but for CM, we will be asking you to work more than ever in the coming years. I will react just to what Mr. Gatti asked about COP27. I would tell you that we will do our best to seem as and to be a responsible state who will be taking all the priorities of everybody at stake as far as the presidency is concerned. The final outcome is us, is all of us, but lots of people would wish to see it the Ag COP. Others would wish to see it the Africa COP, and then others would wish to see it the Fisheries COP. So we will do our best to please everybody and to take all the priorities on board. During the last year, indeed, Egypt undertook bold steps for the implementation of its food system transformation, and in the recently adopted budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023, Egypt increased the allocations of the agricultural sector investment to 82.9 billion Egyptian pounds. This is approximately 4.5 billion US dollars. Compared to 62.9 billion in the previous year, and thus a growth rate of almost 32%. The government adopted key orientations for the upcoming implementation phase of the vision, which includes an increase in the investments related to the food systems, enhancing the productivity of the agricultural sector and other sectors related, as well as expanding the implementation of modern irrigation projects to maximize utilization of water resources. I have to tell you that you have two panelists who are getting out of flu and sharing our medication together. I will also add that special focus was given in the months following the summit to the increase of agricultural production in general and fisheries production in particular. The country ranks first in aquaculture in Africa and 6th in the world. Last month witnessed the widening of the national social protection programs and the national school feeding program that you mentioned to better support vulnerable groups. And in fact, what we are aiming for is that our students will be getting at school 50% of their nutritional requirements. So regardless of how modest you are, you belong to which family, at your school, the public school will be providing 50% of the nutritional requirements for the student. Also, I will say that we have what we consider a very good practice in this regard, which is the initiative Takaful and Karama, which is solidarity and dignity. It has been launched in 2015. It is a cash transfer program where we are offering more than 2 million families across Egypt governorates an amount of cash transfer that is provided to households and depending on the number of children and their school level. A recent assessment of this program, sponsored by the Egyptian government, several international entities, including the World Bank and the International Food Policy Research Institute, revealed that not only the program improved the access to food for the vulnerable groups, but it also enhanced the quality of their diets. And shifting diets from cheap but calorie-rich foods such as bread and sugary foods toward more fruits, vegetables, meat, and fish contributed to healthier and more productive lives and improved children's physical and mental development. Both the quantitative and qualitative analysis showed that Takaful produced a greater increase in food spending than in non-food spending, with households spending more on fruit, vegetables, meat, and poultry. So when people realized that it was healthier and better, they decided to spend more. I think that we wouldn't have bet on this before, and it is one of the lessons learned, definitely. We adopted short-term measures to deal with the unprecedented situation as far as the current geopolitical developments, which did leave us huge negative repercussions on the food system in Egypt. And I would say that Egypt is definitely one of the most affected countries by the surge of food prices, as we rely on global markets for more than half of our staples. We are a net food importing country, and we are the ones who unfortunately import most wheat on earth. So we adopted short-term measures to deal with the unprecedented situation and cushion the impact of war, which included, among others, providing finance to increase the grain storage capacity, provide finance for rural business and farmers. On the mid and long term, Egypt is envisaging, in light of the current crisis, measures aiming at entirely renewing and boosting local food production, investing in sanitation programs and modern technologies of precision farming based on artificial intelligence, with the final goal of improving and increasing the food production. I will end by telling you that a few weeks ago, Egypt received a $500 million US loan from the World Bank to bolster its efforts in this domain, and the loan aims to strengthen Egypt's resilience to food crisis and to support reforms in food security policies, including to improve nutritional outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Badawi, and our best wishes of recovery to you and Madam Deputy Ambassador from Albania. So now I would like to call on Jordan. I think another country showing the way. I think you have a very conducive environment in Jordan because His Majesty the King has declared 2021 the year of food security, and has also decided that Jordan should become a center of excellence for food security in the region. So that's a very nice environment for a national convener to operate in. I think it gives you a lot of leeway. And I think just like Italy, you have the very, I think important, you have taken the very important step of creating a national committee that is trying to integrate the different agendas together so that they're not treated in isolation. So this national committee is looking at food security, food systems, gender, social protection, climate change, all of this trying to integrate them together. So as you're giving us an update from your work in Jordan, would be very interesting to hear from you on this good practice as well. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Please allow me to speak in Arabic. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نعم اللي تفضلتي فيه انه المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية جلالة الملك أعلن عام 2021 عاما للأمن الغذائي.
As you said, the King of Jordan, His Majesty, declared the year as year for food security.
بناء عليه تم تشكيل لجنة من الحكومة لإدارة ملف الأمن الغذائي.
And based on that, a committee from the government was created in order to to assure a good governance of food security.
وفي الواقع اللجنة أنهت أعمالها ورفعت تقريرها وأوصت للحكومة بتشكيل مجلس أعلى للأمن الغذائي برئاسة دولة رئيس الوزراء.
And actually the committee finished its work, and in its recommendation, it put forward the creation of High Council on Food Security that is led by
مجلس أعلى للأمن الغذائي رئاسة رئيس الوزراء.
that is led by the Prime Minister.
وأيضا كان هنالك اجتماع في الأردن قبل أيام بحضور وزراء من الدول العربية، وزراء الزراعة، وأيضا من منظمات دولية عديدة.
And there was a meeting in Jordan recently with the participation of ministers of agriculture from different Arab countries, as well as from international representative or international organizations.
وكان أحد أبرز توصياتها دعم مبادرة الأردن أو دعم مبادرة لإنشاء مرصد إقليمي للأمن الغذائي.
And one of the recommendations or resolutions of that meeting was to create an observatory for monitoring food security in the region.
وهذا بالواقع يعكس اهتمام الأردن في قضية الأمن الغذائي في ظل ظروف غاية في الصعوبة تواجهها المملكة، ومعروف أن أزمات كثيرة مرت في المنطقة بسبب كان تأثيرها على الأردن كبير.
And this shows the high importance for Jordan of the theme of food security. In fact, the country was affected by many crises in the region, and this crisis, of course, led the country to realize the importance of food security.
وهذا أيضا تزامن مع أصلا شح موارد الطبيعية في الأردن، وأبرزها نقص حاد جدا وقد يكون بالمطلق في موارد الطاقة.
And this, of course, is compounded with a scarcity of resources in the country, starting from energy resources.
وأيضا نقص حاد جدا في موارده المائية، حيث يبلغ معدل الفرد في العام أقل من 90 متر مكعب في السنة.
And also the scarcity of water resources as per capita availability of water is less than 90 cubic meters.
وأيضا موقع الجيوسياسي والأزمات والإغلاقات الحدودية اللي عانى منها سنوات طويلة، وكذلك تحديات التغير المناخي.
And of course, added to that is the very specific and special geographical and geostrategic location of the country, as well as the climate change.
وهذا فرض علينا في الأردن أن نتخذ إجراءات سريعة وكبيرة وتحرك على مستوى الإقليم وعلى مستوى المنظمات الدولية.
And this led Jordan to take different actions either at national or regional level.
وبالتالي نحن نواجه ضغوط عديدة ومتعددة، ولكن بعد كوفيد وخلال الأزمة الأوكرانية بحمد الله تعالى كان الأردن وبموجب تقارير دولية يعتبر من أكثر الدول تحقيقا للأمن الغذائي.
So Jordan is under the pressure of different factors, but despite the COVID-19 pandemic and despite the negative effect of the war in Ukraine, according to many international reports, Jordan is considered as one of the best countries in the region when it comes to food security.
وكل ذلك كان بعديد من الإجراءات وتحرك على مستوى القيادة وعلى مستوى إدارة الدولة بكل وزاراتها ومؤسساتها، اللي وسع طاقاته وقدراته التخزينية من المحاصيل الحبوب على وجه الخصوص، حيث لدينا إمكانيات تخزينية تزيد عن فترة العام وربما عام ونصف أيضا.
And this good result in terms of food security is due to the convergence of the effort of different authorities, the good leadership, but also different ministries that were involved. And as an example, the country has nowadays a good storage capacity when it comes to cereals that is even over than 1 year of consumption.
ومن المتوقع أن تكون قدرات الأردن التخزينية خلال المنتصف العام القادم ما يزيد عن 2 مليون طن من الحبوب.
And this storage capacity of cereals would reach by mid of next year to 2023 about 2 metric tons, millions metric tons of cereals.
وهذا يعزز قدراته على التخزينية لمدة تقرب من العامين.
And this would mean about having storage capacity for almost 2 years of consumption of cereals.
وأيضا هنالك كثير من الإجراءات، وربما إذا كان في الأسئلة أن أجيب عليها أترك المجال للزملاء. كل الشكر والتقدير.
And of course, there are other interventions that were taken by the country when it comes to food security, but probably I will have the chance to answer other questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing this example of resilience that is linked to good planning and the strategic choices that were made by Jordan when it comes to stocking essential foods for the country. So I will now like to call the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development of Albania. You have taken a very interesting focus on agrotourism, where you are integrating conservation, sustainable production and consumption, as well as tourism. If you could, while you're briefing us in general on Albania's progress, highlight that good practice. Over to you. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Sylvia. Good afternoon, everybody. During and after the UN summit last year, the awareness of the sustainable food system increased among all the stakeholders. And since then, Albania has been engaging in regional and global food system coalitions dialogues to exchange inspiration and to look for a collective solution towards sustainable food systems. The motto, think globally, act locally. By applying this idea while considering the regional level joint actions, Albania started thinking of strategic intervention to transform agriculture in the economy. So with the prepared, during the strategy that we prepared for agriculture, rural development and fisheries, all the components of national pathway, we are able to implement, to address within this strategy 2021-2027. Among the many different sectors discussed last year, the agrotourism sector has been addressed as one of the most important sectors that contributes highly to the economy as well as to the food systems in the country. The diverse and well-preserved Albanian cooking traditions, combined with Albanian fundamental custom of hospitality, of which serving guests and visitors with food is an element to the hosting. Albania Agrotourism is welcoming tourists all year around to Albanian farms and beautiful nature to enjoy and learn about local culture and food. A range of microclimates across the country allows a suitable environment for the cultivation of nearly every kind of herb, vegetable, and fruit. Albanian cuisine is also representative of Mediterranean cuisine. Moreover, a sustainable agrotourism in Albania also puts an emphasis on the sustainable management of natural resources, conserving ecosystem and biodiversity, practicing organic farming, and promoting sustainable production and consumption as well as a healthy diet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Minister. And last but not least for this round, I would like to call on Spain, which has made a very interesting and innovative use of legislation, policy and regulation to address a wide range of issues, including food loss and waste, irrigation, soil health, and livestock management. So I am asking now Mr. Samuel Jesus Juarez Casado, who is the Senior Advisor, General Secretary for Agriculture and Food at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food in Spain, to please share progress in Spain and also tell us how you managed to make so much progress in this difficult area of legislation.
Thank you, Sylvia. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Well, this doesn't mean that we don't believe in other means of implementing changes other than legislation. Of course, awareness is very important in all these fields, but we also believe that there is some space for regulation and for also for capturing the different changes that can be implemented in these sectors in order to conquer this progress. Yeah, that's working again. That's it. Well, in relation with the food loss and waste, we are preparing a law. It's not still approved. Difficult law because it tries to make compulsory something that should be just voluntary. But we believe that we can boost these changes through the obligation of the companies to have a contingency plan for reducing food loss and waste. Every company has to have the protocol how to prevent food waste in particular. establishing some categories or prioritization of or uses of food when it cannot be used for direct human consumption. It is the second use must be the transformation, for example, fruit into juice or something like that. The third one must be animal feed. The fourth one must be byproducts industry like biofuels. And the fifth one was maybe, for example, for transformation into fertilizers or something like that. There is also the necessity to prioritize the uses like donations or like agreements with organizations for people that in need. And we hope that this will help us to increase that rate of progress that we are already having. Last year, food waste in Spain was reduced by 8.6%. What are the causes of this reduction? Well, there is, of course, awareness is important, but I must recognize that the increase in the price of food in general is something that encourages saving and encourages better planning and encourages better better use of the product. We believe that people has to learn to plan their purchases of food, must learn how to better use the food, and also that there are some other changes in the regulation, like for example the dates of best before, no? That are sometimes misleading for the consumers, and that must be changed. There are also some legislative developments. For example, in the case of livestock premises, we are strengthening the legislation. Legislation in this regard was mainly dedicated to prevent the spread of diseases, but now is turning into environmental requirements, where we are requiring especially the bigger farms to apply some of the means that they are already available to reduce emissions of ammonia, to reduce contamination of pollution of waters, and some good practices that they must fulfill. It comes with regulation also that makes compulsory for all farms to make a declaration every year about their practices, and that will allow us to know exactly how the farms, the livestock premises are functioning, which practices are they applying, which is the management of these premises, in order to allow us to have a better picture and to allow better policies in the future. And lastly, I would like to mention the regulation which aims to improve the way fertilization is made in our country. We want to improve the efficiency of the use of fertilizers. We want that every farmer have an idea, a notion of which is the level of fertilizers that they need to apply, not to apply the fertilizer just as they did always, but to have an idea of which are the needs of the soil, which are the quantities they need, and to encourage them to apply them in order to avoid the leakages, to avoid that these fertilizers go to and then pollute the water and the soil. Farmers will be required to keep a logbook with all fertilizers that they apply, both synthetic and organic, and they will have to of course, to have a responsibility in the use of those products. And lastly, I would like to mention just how the governance of water in Spain is developing. here, more than a regulation, we want to establish an observatory of how the irrigation is being modernized in the country, how which kind of projects must deserve the prioritization in order to finance them. We are making an important investment in modernization in irrigation in Spain at this moment, and but not for increasing the amount of land that is being irrigated, but to save water. We want to improve the efficiency of use of water, and we will also finance those projects that are using reused water, or that those that come with applying a substantial saving in water in order to receive those public financing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. So with that, we have concluded our first round. I hope you still have the stamina to continue. I would invite all of us now to go into the concrete part of this conversation, putting very specific proposals on the table. You have heard what you are all doing. You have heard a lot of good practices. You have heard one concrete proposal from Mr. Gatti about Mediterranean countries joining the Healthy Diet Coalition. You have specific ideas about what would really help you in terms of regional collaboration. And I think this second round, which I will start from here going down to the left, would be about proposing very concrete initiatives that could be taken forward at the regional level. So, Mr. Gatti, can I start with you? And then we will be going down the table up to Spain again. Thank you.
Thank you. We are sharing microphones here. So thank you very much. I will be very brief because I made a lengthy introduction at the beginning. I would, in terms of concrete collaboration, first of all, let me say that I believe that is a challenge. It's an important challenge at the Mediterranean level. We have some very important entities that are working on Mediterranean collaboration. We sit here in the Institute in Bari that is international best practice, as many countries have said today, of how can you work and collaborate at Mediterranean level. We have some very important projects launched with European Union financing. Here I would like to mention, the PRIMA program with Angelo Riccaboni, that is the president of the PRIMA Foundation here. I believe both presidents are, that's it. Here present, and that is also obviously a key program that has a series of important challenges, because sometimes you have the programs but are not used well enough. So there is an issue of capability also of countries on being able to use them and propose, present projects for their financing. In terms of Italy, let me first of all say that we are having a session tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. So who of you of the countries are present are strongly invited to be present. Several have confirmed. We will have also our international organization partners from FAO to the European Commission, WFP, IFAD, and others involved, because, as I said at the beginning, Italy has launched this exercise that is the dialogue, ministerial dialogue, Mediterranean ministerial dialogue on the food crisis, where we would like to see, leveraging obviously already also existing programs and activities, how we can increase the cooperation in 4 or 5 different fields that we have identified. We are taking forward this collaboration with the support of FAO. That is very important. We are having the second edition of this dialogue, the 2nd of December in Rome. And there we would like to present some concrete proposal, projects and ideas to the 26 Mediterranean countries that are part of this. So I will strongly invite, all the countries here represented to actively work with us in making sure that we can push forward with all our partners these collaboration activities. And secondly, I think that it will be very nice if we starting from today and with the support of the hub that obviously plays a very important role in putting together all the capabilities and also all the countries, seeking how we can find a collaboration and common positions in the Mediterranean region that shares, a number of things, starting from the Mediterranean diet, in terms of how do we want to work on the follow-up of the Food Systems Summit. Let me remind you that next year, there has been already announced there will be an important moment at United Nations level to stock taking of the work that has been done after the Food Systems Summit, and it will be nice to arrive presenting some concrete results from the international coalitions that have, the coalitions of action that have emerged. So as I said, healthy diet is one. There's also a very important coalition led by the FAO on food waste. I think that everybody agrees that food waste and loss is one of the things we have to work all together on the Mediterranean areas. So there are 2 or 3 concrete examples, and I will be grateful to the hub if moving forward will be willing to, starting from today, create moments in we can also digitally get together with all the national conveners at the Mediterranean area and establish together how we can move forward. Surely I will be getting in touch with all the Mediterranean countries with the support of the hub to discuss the possibility of joining together this healthy diet coalition. We think that this is something which we can, as Mediterranean countries, provide an important support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very clear. And I think point well taken. So now inviting Egypt.
Thank you, Sylvia. I think that the world is becoming too interconnected, and our Mediterranean is becoming really interdependent. And if we're talking about population growth, demographic changes, urbanization, and globalization, they are all changing our consumption and production patterns in the Mediterranean region. And all of this comes in a context of climate change and decline of ecosystems. Today, more than ever, the region is facing unprecedented and interdependent environmental, educational, economic, and social challenges that affect food security, health, nutrition, sustainability, and thus the livelihoods of all people across the Mediterranean. I'm afraid everything is linked, whether we're talking geography, whether we're talking climate, whether we're talking education, and there we can't afford not to work together. That's for sure. You're all aware of the FAO, CM, UFM Memorandum of Understanding that was signed in January 2021. The MOU details a work plan of concrete actions to be jointly carried out between 2021 and 2024 that will span across several technical areas such as sustainable management of land and water resources, sustainable fisheries, climate smart and organic agriculture, food environments and healthy diets, sustainable value chain development, food loss and waste reduction, and expanding interdisciplinary collaboration in all aspects related to healthcare for humans, animals, and the environment. We believe that the multi-stakeholder platform initiative, SFS Med platform, leverage the knowledge, experience, and skills of institutions across the Mediterranean to produce, along the 2 webinar dialogues convened in 2021, the following 5 main areas of needed transformation that we kept repeating today all of us, blue, green, and circular economy, sustainable management of land and water resources, Mediterranean diet as a lever to bridge sustainable consumption and production, cities as drivers, and equitable and inclusive sustainable development of rural livelihoods. The dialogues also outlined the four main pathways to enhance and accelerate transformation. I will, for the sake of time, I will skip the four of them. We all know them, but definitely there is an apparent need to explore further means and ways to bridge the innovation and technology gaps between the northern and southern shores of the Mediterranean. Ambitious funds and investments in research and innovation in the south of the Mediterranean are necessary to facilitate the required innovative ecosystems, which would lead the charge towards food systems transformation on the national and subsequently regional levels. The ongoing crisis demonstrated the global benefits that accompany articulate regional integration. Mediterranean efforts to create integrated and complementary food systems with the aim at accelerating progress towards the fulfillment of the 2030 agenda must come to level with leaps the region has taken in energy integration and thus enhancing the livelihoods of people across the Mediterranean. Much work is needed to deliver sustainable food systems which build upon stable value and supply chains and connected markets across the Mediterranean and take advantage of the common historical, cultural, and gastronomical heritage of the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Badawi. And I think we have heard your call for much more research and innovation collaboration in the region. So I am now moving to Madam. Yes, she is online. Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to pause with the proposals to listen to Mr. Martina, who is online calling from Cairo, I believe. He could not make his statement this morning, so we're going to now hoping that technology will be with us.
Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Yes? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. And I cannot be present in Bari today, unfortunately. I'm speaking to you from Cairo, where I'm in these days with my colleagues. And first of all, I want to thank the director, Maurizio Raeli, the SIAM's colleagues, and all the prestigious institutions present. The momentum of this conference provides an opportunity to leverage the invaluable experience of countries and stakeholders across the Mediterranean region, and to strengthen the collaborative efforts. FAO is pleased to continue supporting this through its long-standing partnership with SIAM and with the Union of the Mediterranean, and building on the outcomes of the second World Conference for the Mediterranean Diet in 2019 in Palermo. The Mediterranean Diet is a powerful lever for sustainable food consumption and production in the region, in all the region. The complexity of the challenges to achieve more sustainable food systems can only be managed through collective dialogue, cooperation, and actions. of course, through memorandum of understanding in 2021, FAO, SIAM, and the Union of Mediterranean initiated the SFS platform, a multi-stakeholders action, very, very important. In collaboration with PRIMA, the SFS MED platform provides the framework for his conference. It's well positioned to play a key role in supporting food systems transformation efforts in all regions. It's offers a forum for dialogue and collaboration, a network for strengthening knowledge sharing and capacity building, a catalyst for regional cooperation. And these activities complement as well the collaboration established between FIO and Italy in particular for the cooperation with respect to the current food crisis. I want to emphasize in particular the work done last year. Thank you, Ambassador Gatti. Thank you, Farnesina, with the G20 Italian presidency. The work done in the framework, also in the framework of the G7 outreach initiative and the Mediterranean Ministerial Dialogue for the food security in the Mediterranean area. We are ready to collaborate also for the second edition scheduled in December. And FAO's contribution to the SFS MED platform is delivered through the SFS MED project funded by Italy. And our contributor is providing in particular in 3 areas: the policy support to food system transformation, the support to the implementation of FST national pathway with the formulation of country roadmap to identify concrete intervention, and the raising awareness and generating knowledge about successful to FST with a series of technical tools. To conclude, FAO is ready to continue engaging with countries and stakeholders across all the Mediterranean area. The challenges that await us also in this area are crucial for the world, for the peace, for the collaboration, for the cooperation, and for food security for millions of people. Thank you very much for this opportunity and good conference, good work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martina, for pausing your activities in Cairo to speak to us. I think the pledge from FAO and the track record of FAO in terms of supporting countries in the Mediterranean is very well known and very well appreciated by all of us here in this room. Thank you very much. So we will resume our second round. We were looking at concrete proposals of things that we can do as a Mediterranean region, using also the Mediterranean diet as a lever of acceleration. I think we were going to go to our convener from Albania after having listened to proposals from Egypt and Italy. Over to you.
Okay, thank you again. Considering the complexity of food systems and the multiple challenges for Mediterranean countries, a systematic approach to sustainable food systems and coordination of actions are necessary. Second, we think that we need to further collaborate for green and blue economies for the Mediterranean, linking circular economies and sustainable food consumption and production through the Mediterranean diet. Agro-biodiversity should be conserved and used sustainably while protecting local genetic resources and traditions. Changing the perception of the Mediterranean diet from only a healthy diet to a strategic resource of sustainable food systems, linking consumption and production in a healthy and sustainable way, the benefits will be multiplied and last for a long time. And the last is platform like SFS Med are important mechanisms to provide space for countries to discuss synergies and collaboration about these key levers for food system transformations, also in the follow-up of the summit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think points very well taken, especially on the blue economy. I think there is a coalition on aquatic food that could be also of interest to countries in the Mediterranean. So now I'm going to turn to Turkey, that has done a lot when it comes to supporting the region, but also globally. And I think we have to thank Turkey for brokering the Black Sea Grain Initiative in collaboration with the UN Secretary General. So you have a regional center in Ankara, and I think you also have other ideas for regional collaboration that you want to propose. Over to you.
Thank you. Transforming food systems requires development of cooperation and strengthening the relationships. Thank you. And the linkage between key actors of food systems, actors, and disciplines, not only at local and national level, but also at regional and international levels. We should keep lively the communication with the stakeholders identified for each action through different instruments like workshops, meetings, and other platforms. Turkey has concrete examples for regional coordination and cooperation. Under the project, a regional center, that Black Sea Economic Cooperation Center for Sustainable Food Systems, has been established with a clear mandate, relevant institutional framework, and technical capacity to enhance the sustainability of the whole food value chain from farm to fork among BISEC member states. The BISEC Center will provide the member states with advice, guidance, and information in the areas of sustainable food systems. In addition, ECO-RCC is a regional coordination center also. The main purpose of this center is to coordinate projects and activities relevant to RCC components in the ECO member states and enhance cooperation among the member states in the fields of agriculture and food security. We held a regional dialogue in October 2021 with the participation of ECO-RCC and BISEC members. As a first step, some priority and cooperation areas on transforming of food systems were come out. We believe that these two centers will take the lead role in improvement of food systems regionally in near future. We consider that transforming food systems will be accelerated if a special fund mechanism is created for the activities of coalitions and regional organizations dealing with these issues. Finally, I would like to underline the importance of cooperation between the countries to make our food systems more sustainable. We believe that discussion of possible cooperation areas and implementation of joint projects regarding the food systems will be considerably beneficial for our common future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I am moving quite fast, but actually we are not late on our session, but we started late, so we have less time. So apologies that I'm stressing you a little bit. We will now move to Malta, which you also have an example of a center of excellence on pest management and other ideas that you would like to propose. So please go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvia. I think the first thing which should be mentioned is that with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, food security is now very high up on the political agenda. Everyone is focusing on that. And this is, of course, is positive, because once you have the attention of politicians, then you can really put forward ideas which some of them could be implemented. Yes, you rightly mentioned we have a number of proposals. One of the concrete actions, in fact, also mentioned by our colleague from Turkey, is that taken at the regional level with cascade effects at the national and local levels, the identification and mapping of financing programs that are aimed at accelerating transformation in food systems, particularly those that would support investment in public centers of excellence and stimulate entrepreneurship in the food sector. Here, I'd like to mention that when we think of Mediterranean countries as a group of countries that have many things in common, the sea, the climate, and in some sense, the diet. In fact, of course, we all know that we're talking about countries with very different geopolitical and economic realities that in turn influence the diets and the food systems in those countries. We are all very aware, for example, that although there is general agreement around the idea that the Mediterranean diet is healthy, there is no single definition of what constitutes a Mediterranean diet. Also because this in part depends on what the territory of each country can offer, and therefore it becomes increasingly difficult to define and promote common standards of healthy diets and consumption. And maybe this is one challenge which we'll need to address if many of us are going to join as a group, as Stefano is proposing in this Healthy Diet Coalition. The second proposal we had is to address jointly as a group of partners with the same objective, is that of dealing with the risks and vulnerabilities of food systems, particularly in a context where insurance is not feasible at the scale of small countries and localities. Addressing risk is fundamental in our pathways to build resilience and driving innovation. And here we must be aware that we will need different models for addressing the fragility of food systems in the Mediterranean. And we saw this because in Malta, we import 85% of our food. With the pandemic, there was a period when all the ports were being closed, Italian ports were being closed, and suddenly, wow, where's our food going to come from? I mean, we barely grow enough to sustain maybe 5% of our people. So that was, that's really brought it to the fore for us. I know we're running short of time, but I just wanted to mention at the end that during lunch, I was talking to some Italians from the area, and they mentioned that they told me that 5 years ago there was only one McDonald's in Bari. Now there are 10 in 5 years. So, you know, I mean, think about the Mediterranean diet, which is very famous at Bari. The food for lunch was amazing. Yesterday evening was amazing. I'm sure looking forward to tomorrow with the gala, which will break all my records. But perhaps this is something we need to look at, you know. I mean, the price of a McDonald's, is it cheaper than the price of a healthy lunch or dinner in Bari? Thank you.
I think this is an important reminder that we shouldn't take the Mediterranean diet for granted, and that future generations may make different choices if we're not preserving this heritage. And also, indeed, healthy food is more expensive than other options. So we're going back to Jordan. And I think you have a very concrete proposal of cooperation with countries in the region to increase food security. Over to you.
نعم، احنا تعاوننا الإقليمي مع دول الجوار هذا بيؤدي إلى تعزيز حالة الأمن الغذائي، خاصة إنه الأردن بموقعه المتميز هو كان مركز مهم للإغاثة في وقت الأزمات.
Of course, we believe in regional development, especially taking into consideration the strategic situation and location of Jordan that makes it very important in times of emergency, for food emergency.
ولكني أرغب في أن أستغل الوقت المتاح لي للحديث عن إمكانيات استثمارية سواء داخليا أو بالتعاون مع الإقليم. من أبرزها إحنا في الأردن عندنا مخرجات الزيبار الناتجة عن معصر الزيتون، بالتالي هذه الآن الحديث جاري عليها لاستثمارها مع القطاع الخاص لغايات إنتاج الوقود الحيوي.
But I would like to take time allocated to me to talk about investment opportunities in Jordan, and in particular in the olive sector. There is the all olive mill waste that can be valorized, and there are already some initiatives with the private sector, for example, in order to produce biofuel, bioenergy out of this waste.
وكذلك أيضا الحصاد المائي واحدة من أهم مشاريع الوزارة في قضايا كثيرة، وفي استثمار طريقة للحفاظ على رطوبة الأشجار من خلال الشرنقة، وهي عبارة عن صندوق من مواد عضوية يعطي أمد طويل للزراعة والحفاظ على الرطوبة.
And of course, given the water scarcity facing the country, also water harvesting is very important. And in this regard, there is this technique that consists in having kind of mulch around, the trunk of the trees in order to conserve humidity and moisture.
وأرغب أيضا أن أضيف أننا نحن بإعادة تقييم النظم الغذائية بالتعاون مع شركائنا خاصة الفاو وأيضا الحكومة الإيطالية لإعادة تقييم النظم الغذائية ودراسة مكوناتها وإطارها التشريعي وأهم التداخلات والأولويات المطلوبة لتحقيقها ضمن حوار وطني.
And at the same time, we are working on food systems, and we are working especially on an evaluation of food system in collaboration with different partners, including the government and the partners from Italy. And the idea is to have a clear idea about the composition of the diet, but also what is about the impact of the legal frameworks on the diet.
شكرا.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to close this round with Spain.
Thank you, Sylvia. Very, very briefly, because almost everything was already said. Just to say that, of course, I find very relevant all the suggestions that I heard for those who are with me in the table. I just would like to appeal for also some strengthened collaboration, not only in the scientific field, which is very important, which was already mentioned, but also on the management, political management field, which is also important. There are some questions that have been raised here of common interest for the Mediterranean countries. The water management has just said by our colleague from Jordan, but here during the session, the food waste problem is something that is in the mind of everybody. Healthy diets is so complicated. How to convince people to eat differently, and I believe that the different steps that every government is taking in this field that can be identified as prioritary in this road to food systems transformation is very relevant for all of us, and maybe to identify several items of common interest and establish such a mechanism of exchange should be a good way to foster collaboration between us, maybe sometimes bilaterally, sometimes in other fora, and to know and learn more quickly from each other. Thank you.
Yes, I think as you rightly said, the network is important. You know each other now, physically at least for the first time. So bilateral exchanges definitely, and I think the SFS Med platform is also going to follow up on this proposal to organize opportunities for you to engage on thematic issues, but more generally on challenges and opportunities within the region. So with that, Sandro, you have the very difficult task of wrapping this up and giving us a sense of next steps. Thank you very much.
Well, all the country here today are taking a great steps in operationalizing their food system transformation vision and strategies through specific policy and priority in support of economic, social, environmental objectives, health, nutrition through Mediterranean diet too. We also heard the specific program which contribute to key entry points for sustainability of a food system and contribute to the pathway implementation in their country, such as we heard, sustainable agritourism, food losses waste, food security, cash transfer, school feeding program, and many, many others. Green economy, blue circular economy. All this goes together in the Mediterranean. Such even proposing legislation in this regard with the law on food chain, on bill on food loss and waste, institutional framework were also mentioned, like the rule of a food agency as a common platform to bring the sector all together. Food system is not just a food chain. All confirm the collaboration is a key to address the current challenging context that is critical to collaborate to find a common solution, action, and to explore new opportunities. The Mediterranean diet came across all this effort. It can be also a lever or guide or lever or resources, depending from each country for collaboration. Definitely, we need a change of perception about the Mediterranean diet. It's not what it was, something on which we have to discuss, because each country has also their different supply chain for the Mediterranean diet. And then come import and export. The need of innovation and technological gaps was highlighted, especially between southern, eastern, and northern countries. And I watched Prima just to know how is it difficult to have a coordination of the project from the south. Many mention also the importance to identify innovative finance program and investments. We will hear about this on Friday morning, investments. Many stress the effort like the SFS Med platform as a mechanism to support this collaboration among countries. Also in the beginning, the One Planet program, Alvin Kopser, mentioned and highlighted the relationship between One Planet and SFS Med platform as an affiliated program, an affiliate initiative of the United Nations One Planet. With the UNF Food System Coordination Hub, we hope to continue to engage us as the country and the stakeholder, because it's a multi-stakeholder initiative, across the Mediterranean. to support the process initiated within the framework of the Food System Summit. At the regional country level, this is the moment now for a change of route. On behalf of the SFS and MED platform, we would like to thank all the participants of this section once again for such a rich discussion. Thanks, Sylvia, for the excellent moderation. Thanks all the national conveners. And thanks for Siambari to have hosted within the conference this section. And thanks to all the staff that has contributed to this collaborative effort. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sandro. I think you said it all and you said it beautifully. So there is not much for me to add. What I would like to say is that the stock-taking moment is going to take place in 1 year. I think the Mediterranean region has a role to play in leading the charge at the global level, showing that it can be done. As the UN Food Systems Hub, we are looking forward to partnering with all of you at country level, but also at regional level. We have heard the wealth of good practices in this region, but also the challenges. We know that water and droughts are really pressing challenges for this region, but we also know that at ground level, there is a lot of innovation happening and that we need to connect the knowledge of the farmers, the knowledge of the academia and the universities and researchers in your countries, and also to make sure that decision-making is informed by data and good science. So there is a lot for us to do. It is time to roll up our sleeves, but I'm really looking forward. I'm new to this space, but every time I discover a new page, I get more excited. So looking forward to our collaboration and wishing you a pleasant rest of the day. Thank you. And there is a family photo. Oh.
Please stay in the room. There is another presentation and it's only 15 minutes. So please stay in the room. There is the last 15-minute presentation by Biagio Di Terlizzi on the SFS MED diet platform. Hey, Silvia. Ce l'ho presentazione? Sì, ok. E dove c'è? No. Okay, just I will take additional 10 minutes of your attention, or perhaps 15, but no more. If please you take again your seat. Sandro, can you invite people to sit? Okay. This is a very informal session. I don't have a dress code that I'm respecting. I'm like this. And this is the only session that I'm a chairman and I'm a speaker. Then I can even decide to leave you. And but in any case, I'm really here because thanks to the Roberto Capone and Sandro Dernini, they make this session, and this is why I'm alone, not with them, but I will manage. We heard a lot, and being like this, I will speak in Italian. And if you want to take your headphone, or otherwise, I will continue. That doesn't work. Okay, this is another say way how they deal with me. Now we talk about is working. Okay, if you can, but that doesn't matter. We heard a lot about the SF-Med platform. And as an institute, we were saying how to make concrete this SF-Med platform. And we try to build for the SF-Med platform, this SFS-Medite knowledge sharing community. I will enter then in each of these words. And the SF-Med platform, as we heard, was a tool to raise awareness, to promote good practice, to exchange information, knowledge, build a partnership. But then we will say how really to reach the territories, how we can get from the territories some things which is really peculiar of them, or what has been really well done that needs to be replicated. This is we were looking how really to listen to the territory, how we could arrange this system. And this is as usually the Minister of Foreign Affairs is helping us. And we had this opportunity of this project, MEDITE, which names Sustainable Resilient Food System in the Mediterranean. And we say, okay, let's build a network of countries from the Balkan, Middle East, and Maghreb. And here they are 18 representatives. They are 18 countries that are representative of the area where we are trying to work with the Italian institution. This is why we had to the SFS MEDAIT in order to give the right, the weight and importance to someone that make us possible this kind of activity and expertise, make together this expertise. We had a system of people that the stakeholders, international organization, networks, then funding agency, all of this has been part of this system. At the moment, we began in June, and we merged 62 different partners that they act and they really work, and 24 countries at the moment. This is just our beginning, and this is what we would like then to see how to merge or how to comply with the SS Med platform. This knowledge sharing community is a platform, but what we did at the moment during these 2 months of work, unfortunately, is a summer, and otherwise we were 3 months of working, and we collect some publications that were focusing on the Mediterranean diet, we're focusing on local value, we're focusing on nutritional component of the different, products that they make the basket of the local diet. We collect some good practice, and we will come back what we will consider good practice. Then we also collect the rules, regulation. There are not so many in the Mediterranean country, and we have to help them then to see, not to make regulation as we consider, but start for them how to think, how to organize, and do some project and initiative. This is a work that, as we say, only two months of activity. Now, our objective is, as I say, listen the needs, give voice to the local community, collect, share, replicate it. This is but replicate what it is good. That one person, I was sit over there, and came to me, which is a very high representative, say, but when we will be concrete in doing some things, in the looking for some things. This is what there is. There are already concrete action at the Mediterranean level, but perhaps we don't know, but we will let shown up this. Of course, more we collect as information, more we will be able then to cluster all this. And as we say, it can be regarding the Mediterranean diet, it can be more related to the value chain, more related to natural resources. We need information then to group. But the good practice, how we will try to we say we listen. We know, we interview people, we see what has been consolidated in the country, what is already replicated, what is already part of their life. In this way, what we will take from the territory, we will then check, or we will establish a committee to see what is really a good practice, what has to be shown to other areas in order to be replicated. Of course, the number that you saw are number of what has been collected and not loaded, but it will come soon. For our good practices collected from the field, already something that had an impact, already something that make a change in that context, in that community. Is something that need additional visibility because we know, otherwise we could not identify it. But perhaps it's something that needs one others that they know about this. Transfer, and wherever it's possible, replicate it. This is a kind of service that also we will provide to the donor, to the agency, to say, look, there is already over there something that is well done. This is the real needs on that area, that region, that country. This is, in one word, is a service that we do for the people that intend to transfer innovation or tend to validate an innovation or to transfer the research to the one as an NGO that intend to get some idea to replicate it, or also to the funding agency that eventually they knows what is already and what then eventually should be developed more. Now, some idea how we will promote the good practice. What we did is just now, very quickly example. We will make some video clip. This is one of the cases that we mention as, for us, is a good practice. It's in the north of Syria, and where there is no extension service over there, how to build up extension service for veterinary activity, how to make the ambulance for the control certain disease, how to make a vaccination. And this is what we consider over there as a good, because it has been done by themselves, by the local council, by the community. Or another good practice, just as a sample, and to see how we will provide this short video clip. Some of this has been also shown in meeting of Rimini just the last month of August. This is taken from Tunisia. This is related to the women activity, because we were able to, with the local community, to discuss with the central authority and to make a ban for the collection of clams in the south of Tunisia. And because there was no economic return in harvesting, in collecting clams anymore. And the possibility to have this period of resting, period of, say, rehabilitating, of course, will offer some economic chances. This is how we intend to support. Or another one, the good practice can be also institutional good practice. The last experience in Bosnia, where has been established a peripheral, say, laboratory at the border of the country to check what is coming in. And this is, if we go in the, say, in the approach and the strategy of One Health, then this kind of activity is something that started from them. They were looking, even if they are three different entities, they decide to work together to have, at the border the control. Now, at the end, this SFS MEDAIT and this as a vision is to bridge the gap from raw to processed data with research and development policy, but then how to enhance food policies, how to increase dialogue, how to make synergy, how to make an easier access to the data. This is a system that will be open, and then anyone that is interested in some of the good practices that they will show, of course, it can be registered and have additional information: who did, where we make, how it's been organized, who is the local stakeholder, for how long it has been replicated. Those are all the information that everyone can get once you will find it. And of course, it's a tool, as we say, also for the one for that intend to invest in the country or intend to develop an activity of validating the research, because they will know that there are some communities, some actors, some local stakeholders able to be reliable in this innovation. This is the service between break. Now, then the last is, if you believe in cooperation, your experience on the ground will take center stage. And this is what we are telling to the different community. And then also for you, This is our experience that from cooperation we take on our shoulder, and we would like to continue in strengthening and, of course, orienting to the SFS Med platform, but with a concrete action. This is the speaker and his speech. Now the chairman and his talk, and I'm ready then to discuss. We cannot do now, as the chairman said, I could not do now because there is another now a side event that have to be organized here at 6, but I will be here, and also with my colleague you can speak and get additional information. Grazie.